Wonderful. Okay, good afternoon everyone. Thank you for coming to the New Lenox and Manhattan Triad. Today we are excited to introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Lisa McGlasson with the Will County Emergency Management Agency. She will be presenting to our group on financial preparedness. Whether you're ready for the unexpected, large appliance repair, or rebuilding your entire life following a catastrophic weather event, financial preparedness is essential. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lisa now. Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us today. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yay. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Lisa McGlasson. I live in Joliet, grew up in Lockport, graduated from Lockport High, went in the Army immediately after, came back and went to college on the GI Bill, of course, and ended up with the federal government. I retired after 35 years of service as a senior national security policy advisor at the Pentagon, doing national security policy. So I worked mainly on the Hill with the Secretary of Defense and working on continuity of operations, continuation of government should the worst happen, which means my background for some of those 35 years was having a bag under my desk. I might get a call that said I can't go home and grab my pets or anything. I had to use the directions in my wallet to get me to a secret location. I would be one of about 100 people there, and we would be the survivors. We were going to be in a mountain. We all had different directions. We had to follow those directions without GPS to get to the location, but nobody could just steal my wallet and figure out where the location was. So that's where I come from. And doing that, most of my neighbors around me had very similar situations. We never knew when we weren't going to get to come home. We never knew what was going to happen or what would happen the next day. We woke up on September 10th. I was in law school at the time. We talked about hijackings and how you just take the hijackers where they want to go and land the plane. And everything's good. And on 9/11, it didn't happen that way. And so that day, we didn't go home. We went and did other things. So all of that, and I retired in 2019, and I saw an ad that said emergency management. They're looking for people to help people in the community be prepared for dangerous conditions, catastrophic events, and things of that nature. I thought maybe my background would help with that, and so I volunteer with the Emergency Management Agency doing public preparedness. So we got in touch trucks and things like that and talked to people about being ready. Do you have that bag? Because you've got to have that go bag ready all the time. We talk about that all the time. How many of you been through a tornado? Nobody's been through a tornado? All right, there's only one of you in the room? Really? The 1968, so if you've ever been through a tornado, yeah, you go down to the basement, you got all your stuff there, you got the radio, you know what to do, you got water. But what we don't talk about a lot of times is what happens next. What do you do in the aftermath? So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on more today, is do you have everything you need to continue after that disaster? Let's see if I can make this work. Nope. Okay, anybody? Mike, I should be able to make this go to the next slide. It doesn't seem to be. It may be the, there we go. Okay. Whew. There you just needed to be here. Didn't even actually need to. So it is difficult to plan, but planning is best done beforehand. Think about those things. You'll have some books in front of you. There are 2 pamphlets on the table, one for each person in here. The one was put out by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's a very detailed book that goes through all of your financial information and thinking about all of the things in your life that you may need to plan for after. The other is a quick checklist. The green book is a quick checklist for things. So you want to be happy you prepared? Are you prepared? More than half of Americans, and now today as we're talking about various financial things going on, tariffs rising, things of that nature, and regardless of the political situation, only 16% of Americans have an emergency preparedness kit that includes financial preparedness. Only 16%, less than 1 in 5 people have thought about financial preparedness as part of an emergency plan. 60% of Americans could cover a $500 emergency bill. If that's brakes in your car, if that's a broken wash machine, 60% of Americans have $500 to cover a bill that wasn't expected. Of those, 8% would take out a personal loan, which means it's a much bigger bill than it started out. 12% would ask a family or friend for the money. Your family or friends might not have the money either in a disaster situation. 18% of people would grab a credit card. And credit card interest rates are 22% right now. So your $500 bill becomes a $600 bill very quickly at 20%. Depending on the emergency, you can expect to need 3 to 6 months of your normal living expenses following a disaster. If you're thinking about the hurricanes in North Carolina, talking about the wildfires in California, or if you're just talking about Manhattan, was it the Oaks? Ranch Oaks had tornadoes last year. Many of them couldn't go back to their home right away. It may take 3 to 6 months to fix your home once the disaster's over. Once the tornado goes through, it doesn't just go through and it's done. There's a lot to clean up and a lot of expense. And we were talking before the meeting that the tree services were coming out and giving people quotes of $15,000 to remove a tree from someone's roof because it was an emergency. They could do it. They could gouge because it's an emergency. You have to have that tree off your roof. The insurance company will pay you $500 to have that tree removed. You now have a $14,000 difference between what you have to get done and what your insurance company is going to pay you. So those are the things I really want to focus on today. How do you create a plan? First thing you need to do is what most people don't do. I'm going to look around the room and probably figure that most of you have a budget. Most of you have a good idea of what your monthly expenses are. But eliminating or reducing non-essential expenses is important. Anybody see those commercials on TV that said, I was paying for 16 things I didn't know about? I don't know how you get in that situation, but it's quite easy today, particularly for younger generation. They just click on the button and it says, okay, I'm going to buy this subscription to watch movies, and they don't turn it off. And it just keeps coming out of their account, and they don't pay attention. So if you have that generation around, help them understand that. Keeping a small amount of money available for emergencies. I was at my American Legion meeting last week when the storm came through. Not the dust storm, but the storm the day before. And we were in downtown Manhattan. When I drove back to Joliet, I got all the way to Laraway Road before I saw a light. So no electricity means the credit card machines aren't going to work. ATM machines aren't going to work. If you were going to go get gas tomorrow for your car, you're not going to have any money to do that. And it was the next day afternoon before the lights came back on. So again, there's a lot of things that you can't get. You can't even go to the store and get water because the store's not open. The ATM's not working. So you have to have a little bit of money so you can get up to Laraway Road, get gas in your car, get some bottled water, things like that. Yes, ma'am.
Do the gas pumps even work, or do most of them have their own generators?
It does depend on the station. I did notice that the Manhattan BP was not working. Their pumps were not working. But no, I came from Virginia here most recently. Those pumps always worked after hurricanes, but it was cash only after hurricanes. Because the bank, ATM, and credit card machines wouldn't transmit, but they could still get the pumps to work. So a lot of them, it depends on the station, will have. I think truck stops usually have a backup generator for the pump only, and you can do cash. So making sure that you have some. Here's the hard part. Determine what assets you have to protect. That's everything you've inherited that you're going to go on Antiques Roadshow with. Making sure that you have a good record of all of those things. Even just your furniture. How do you do that? Anybody got any ideas how I'd go about and document that? Pictures. Pictures are great. The other thing most of us have is a video camera right in our pocket. walk around your house and just go slow around the whole house and videotape everything you own. Videotape those art pieces, videotape your furniture, because you're going to have to replace it if a tree falls through your roof. So videotape all of it. You have a good picture of it. You can use that as evidence for your insurance. You can do it with pictures. You can also do it with the video. And then what do I do with those pictures and video? Just leave them in a file cabinet? Probably not. Any ideas? Safe deposit box. That's a good way to do it. Safe deposit box. The other thing you can use is a secure cloud. And if you don't have your information on a cloud, ask somebody to help you set one of those up. You could also leave it a friend or good relative, someone that you trust that doesn't live next door to you, that isn't going to be hit by the same disaster. Somebody 5 miles away, 10 miles away, something like that, so that you'll have it again later. Identify resources for financial assistance. Where do you go? You probably are going to come to the community first, because the city and the community will have a lot of information for you. They'll be putting out information. They'll be sending out messages. Sign up for those emergency messages. We have the county has many, many resources. The county will call in Red Cross if it's in more than one township or city. We also have state resources. If you're a veteran, we have the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission. You can call us and we will get some other veterans out to help. We do that all the time with veterans. So there are a number of resources. Make sure you know where those are or how you can get information sent to you automatically when something happens, so you know what's happening and where you can go for help. So if following an emergency, first thing to do is get yourself safe. Get yourself to a safe place. This may mean that you have to travel away from your home. You may have to get home from work if you're at work, or if you're at a friend's house or someplace else. You may not be allowed to come back to your home if you're out. So make arrangements to meet. Say that I'm going to pick on the two people up here. Say you live in one home, but you're out shopping and you're off golfing, and a disaster hits and you're not allowed back in your neighborhood. Where would you meet up? Have a determination of where you would meet up depending on the situation. Oh, we'll meet at the truck stop at the corner of, we'll meet at, at the restaurant parking lot near I-80, something of that nature. So have a place to meet up if you're not in the same spot, especially if you have children, small children in school, and where did they go? What happens if you're not home because you were out shopping and didn't get back to the home because there's a road closure or something? Do the kids go next door? Whose house do they go to? Do they know that the kids might come over? How do they contact you? Things like that. Taking care of those family members, making sure they know how to get a hold of you, how to meet up, where you are. What about your pets? If you can't get home, do you have an agreement with a neighbor to get your pet to safety? If that should happen, if you have traded keys with a neighbor, something like that, can they come and save your pet for you? And back and forth. I will tell you, in Will County, and this is worldwide, but most people won't leave their home, even after a disaster, if they have to leave their pets. That's a family member. We know that. You're not going to leave them there. You're not going to leave those little ducklings by themselves. Those little ducklings are not going to be left by themselves. She has ducklings. So you're not going to leave them at home. Good news. Will County Emergency Management Agency got a truck donated to us, so it didn't cost you anything. We have University of Illinois Veterinary School attendees that will come and attend to any pet you have. If you go to a Red Cross shelter, you can bring your pets and we will care for the pets in the truck. We generally park it right next to the Red Cross shelter so that you can visit and talk to them and all of those things. So we know that people don't want to leave without their pets. Reporting claims to your insurance company. Here's where that stack of photographs, videos that you have either in your safe deposit box or you have on the cloud or whatever, you're going to need those to go to your insurance company. The other thing you're going to need is your actual insurance paperwork, because you're going to need to know who to call, What's their phone number? Oh, sure, I got it in my phone. What if I was running down the steps trying to get a hold of the cat and the phone fell out of my pocket, like my keys did earlier? Phone fell out of my pocket. I don't have the phone now because it's under that tree that fell through my roof. How do I call my insurance agent? Hopefully in that safe deposit box or in my box in the basement or wherever I'm safe, I have a copy of my insurance records and I have a copy of who to call, how to get a hold of them, what I'm going to say to them, all of those things. One thing you can use when doing this are fireproof bags. These are just, they look like nothing. They're little plastic bags. You put your documents in, fold it down, and it's now fireproof. You can use these to travel. If you have rechargeable things, TSA will let you travel with rechargeable items if you have them in a pouch like this, because it will keep your phone from catching fire like they do. Batteries catch fire, TSA will let you carry this on the airplane. Yes?
Where do you get those pouches? I've never heard of them.
I actually got them from Amazon. They're called fireproof pouches. They're document size. They came like a 6-pack. There's one the size of a checkbook, a little bit bigger than this that my checkbook goes into. Actually, I just leave it in the drawer in my house in case there was ever a fire, my checkbook wouldn't burn. But you can also keep documents for, there's waterproofs, safe for that. So it's just a handy thing. I think maybe there were 6 of them were $14 or something. Not terribly expensive, but they're also handy. I do travel a lot, so they're also handy for traveling for that rechargeable batteries that do have a tendency to catch fire. So it keeps the fire from coming out just as well as it keeps the fire from going in. Yeah, there was it's not that kind of 6-pack. There were 6 different sizes, like in a group. There was document size and down smaller. Repair, rebuild, replace. How many people think that if their house was damaged today, their insurance would cover rebuilding the house? Right? That's the right response. I think is the right response. The California wildfires recently, most people there found out that even though they had full replacement, it will not cover the rebuilding of the home they had because of the price of building materials and things of that nature. If your taxes just went up on your property taxes, which mine did, so probably yours did too, that means the value of your house probably went up. You may not have adjusted your insurance for that. So make sure that your insurance can cover the cost of rebuilding given today's lumber prices and things like that. It's going to cost you a lot more to rebuild your house than it did to build it in the first place. Evaluate your response. Let's say we have a small situation where you just have one tree. It just takes out your backyard gazebo. But you realize how much it costs to just take that one tree off of your gazebo and rebuild that gazebo. Use that information to go back and reevaluate your current plan. Again, do you have enough insurance? Have you thought about what you have and what you need to protect? And do you have enough coverage on it and things of that nature? We talked about this a little bit. Gas money. That's the biggest thing. If you got to get someplace safe, you got to get there somehow. Hopefully your car is not in the garage that's ruined. Gathering family and friends. You may have someone who is on a vacation and they're stuck somewhere. You may have somebody who is at work and they don't have transportation because their car is not there anymore. It's under the tree. Food and shelter. If you have a pet that can't go in the trailer because of a medical issue that it has or something else, you may need to find a hotel to go to. Generally, the Red Cross and other entities will assist you if you have a therapy dog or an assistance dog that has to stay with you. They will generally help you find a hotel and put you in that hotel. Here's a big one for probably all of us, replacing medications and medical equipment. If you have specialized medical equipment or if you have medication that you need right away, how would you get that following a storm for a few days or a few weeks or whatever it is? How do you even figure out what your prescriptions were and where do you go to get them when the Walgreens doesn't have power either, and how do you get there. So thinking about those things. Making sure that you have enough Band-Aids and things for small cuts. When you come out, how many of you have shoes in wherever you go during a tornado? Got a pair of shoes down there? No? No shoes? Because shoes, really important, because when you come out, there's a lot of broken glass on the ground, a lot of debris, a lot of things laying around. They don't have to be great shoes. I saw a lady on TV the other day from the tornadoes down south, and she was wearing a pair of her husband's rubber fishing boots. She said she'd found them in the basement when she came out after the storm. She was lucky that she found those boots because she didn't have shoes downstairs, and she came out and there was all kinds of debris that she had to walk to get to the Red Cross truck to get help. And so we really want to preserve our resources too. I mean, frankly, if we can keep you from cutting your foot, then we can send somebody, an emergency responder, over to someone who's hurt worse, who's really in a bad way because they planned, but something horrific happened. So we want to make sure we get as much as we can. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, when my kids were younger, and first thing I told them when we did the tornado warning, put your shoes on. First thing I do is make sure I got my shoes on.
Yeah, that's a good thing. The only thing is with little kids too, at 3 a.m. when if they panic or if they don't really respond well to emergencies, sometimes they're not thinking about that. Now, if you did practice that with them several times, they've got some muscle memory going on, they might be more likely to do that. A lot of times when I've done this particular class, I hear people say, oh, I just grabbed my purse on the way down the stairs. But again, when you're trying to grab the dog and you're trying to wrangle the kids and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you were in a dead sleep and suddenly you're awakened by a freight train in your yard, you're not always thinking about grabbing your purse. And that's where your ID is. So now the next morning, try to prove who you are to the bank, because they're not going to let you in that safe deposit box because they can't even prove who you are. So it's great if you can practice that and you get them used to it, so long as it's a plan, but you've got to kind of enact the plan once in a while too and get used to doing things. And repetitive actions make you do it again when it's time. When you need to, it's time. So yeah, that's a good idea. Make sure they've got keys. Securing property. How much do you suppose with lumber costs these days does it cost to get one of those big plywood boards to close that picture window on the front of your house? Just the board itself is going to be a lot. You're probably not going to be able to do it yourself. You're going to have to call somebody. They're going to charge you several $100s to get that done. So all of these things are expenses that we just don't think about. It's very depressing. I'm sorry. But reality, if we can get ready for it, it's a lot easier to deal with than if we don't even think about it. If we just don't think about it, it's going to be a lot worse later. What documents do you need? We talked about this. Insurance policies, deeds. Who really owns that house? Passport, driver's license, birth certificates, anything you might need to prove that you are who you are, to prove that that person really is related to you, to prove that that child is yours, that was maybe didn't get home because they were on a school bus. How do you pick up your own child unless you can prove, because maybe the child's in the hospital undergoing treatment and you have to prove that it's yours. All of these things have happened at some point someplace in my life. So animal records, not just the cute photo of your dog that looks like maybe somebody put a jigsaw puzzle together wrong, but actually a good straight-on photo of the dog, straight-on photo of those ducks, any special marking, any special any special markings they have, anything like that, so that when the shelter has 48 dogs that have been picked up around the county and you're trying to identify yours, I'll bet if you walk in the room, 4 of them are going to run up to you. So pick out which one yours is if you don't have them chipped. If you have them chipped, make sure you have the documentation for that. Will, power of attorney, and unfortunately, prearranged funeral records, funeral arrangements. Make sure that people know what you want done and what you don't want done. Again, unfortunately, in these storms, in these disasters, we do frequently lose people. Make it easy on the folks that are left behind to not have to go through a whole big planning a wedding while they're dealing with all the grief. Make sure it's pre-planned for them. Videotaping personal property, we talked about that earlier with the,
On the
Yeah.
ID and all that kind of stuff, the insurance and all that, will they accept a photocopy of it? So if you have photocopies and put in your...
yeah, that's a good question. If the original has been destroyed or is under the house or something, even the Supreme Court has held that video evidence or electronic copy is what they call the best evidence rule. If that's the best you can come up with, because maybe the county records office isn't open yet to get a whole new one. If the best you can do is that electronic record, then that's acceptable. So you want to produce the original when you can, but if you can't, that's okay too. Do the best you can. So how do we keep those records? Again, you're going to need them to get in the bank. We talked about a fireproof bag. You can do a fireproof box, a safe, anything. Probably not a good idea to keep it up on the top floor because that's the floor that's most likely be damaged. If it's something you don't access very often, go ahead and put it in the basement or put it in your safe spot. Ensure that they're properly recorded in the county records office. So births, home deeds, military papers, all of those things that can be recorded with the county, go ahead and record them with the county. That way you can get another good personal record that is original and authentic. Again, make good quality copies, secure them on a cloud, place them in some place away from your home. If you work, keep a copy in a locked drawer at work. If you have another family member who lives close enough that you could get to it following an emergency, you wouldn't have to drive 200 miles to get it, put it there. Be careful with those secure clouds. Be careful if you're not sure what a secure cloud is, get someone to assist you with that because there are a lot of places out there that do have unsecure storage on the internet. So you want to make sure that you're using something reputable. Avoiding scammers. Okay, I'm going to ask you at the end if anyone in the room didn't learn or pick up anything today, okay? So here's my trick to make sure you all say, yeah, you picked up at least something. Non-washable ink. Anybody got those at home? Anybody have pens? Yep, you got some at home? All right. All right, so if anybody saw the movie, I can move around, right? Anybody saw the movie Catch Me If You Can? Frank Abagnale? Well, while Frank Abagnale was in prison, he helped the FBI and the Treasury Department with making money, cash, bills, finding those people. Can you pass those back there? Okay. Finding those people who are counterfeiting, so identifying counterfeiting and stopping counterfeiting. And one of the things that he helped them come up with, which was something that he did, was called check kiting. So check kiting is where you write a check for a small amount, and then you just wipe off, you just erase, you wash it, and you take the amount off. And then you change the amount. So the $10 check now becomes $10,000. And you take it to the bank, and the bank gives you $10,000 for the $10 check. So what they came up with was this 207 ink. It's a special ink by Uniball, and it is non-washable. So if you use this to write your checks, so please use this to write all your checks. If you use this to write your checks, nobody can take that check and rewrite it for another amount, for a bigger amount, things like that. So Will County, when we started doing this presentation, we got these to hand out, again, to keep you guys safe from scam. Yeah, normal ballpoint, even Sharpies actually, even permanent ink isn't permanent. So you can wash them. What happens is the colors that are in the check stay because they're printed in the paper, but you can pretty much wash off any normal ink. So this is a special ink. It's made to not be able to wash it off. So it was a special, I don't know what the chemical formula was, but there was a special formula that would just break it down and take it off.
All the supplies stores sell these?
They do. Yeah, the Uniball 207 is available everywhere. So
Say 207 on it.
it will say, yeah, this says right on the top, it says Uniball 207. Right over here it says 207. That's the ink number. That's the ink type. So we met Frank Abagnale at a couple of conventions, and he used to come talk to the federal government in national security circles. He would come talk to us about all of the things that he did to stop these scammers and to stop a lot of the things he did when he was younger. And he didn't do anymore. So using non-washable ink, emergency bring out the best in people, don't they? Everybody comes out and helps, and the neighbors come, until a few days later, here comes a group of people dressed in fireman outfits and police outfits and everything that looks real and authentic. And they're here, and they're here with the government, and they're here to help. You know how they are. They're here to help, and they just like to go through your house and see the damage so that they can assess it. Are you going to take them into your house and let them see the damage? No. There is no reason that anyone that doesn't show you an official badge and usually a piece of paper from the mayor, the county, somewhere that explains what they're there to do, will come out and assess any damage. Will County Emergency Management does come out and assess damage outside of your home. We will never cross the threshold. We don't ask to come in your house. If you ask us to come in and look at something, we don't even want to do that. We want to come see the tree in your backyard. We want to come assess how big the tree was, how much wind we think, so that we can get Illinois and federal money, but we will not come in your house. But that's what one of the scams do. They did that last year. They've done it every time we've had a tornado. A couple days later, here come people with, looks like it says fire emergency on the back of their shirt. They're wearing a fireman cap, they're wearing a police cap, and they come in and they want to see what's in your house. They do want to see what's in your house. Because the next time you go to get groceries, they're going to go ahead and go in the house anyway, because you already have a big hole in the wall where the broken window is. They're going to go in and help themselves to whatever they saw when you brought them through to see the damage. So don't trust anyone. Don't care who it is. Don't trust anyone. If you're not sure, if the police do come out, call the non-emergency number. Say, hey, do you have officers out assessing damage? Do they need to come into my house for anything? They won't be bothered if it's real. They should have the information, but they won't be bothered if you call them and say, hey, I get some people here that are claiming to be New Lenox police, and they want to walk through my house and see my stuff. I don't really have a problem doing that, but can you verify that they're really doing that? And they will probably send some other officers out to greet those people, because I'm going to tell you they're not officers, because it's not what anybody does. Nobody needs to see your house, but we see it more and more and more every time there's a disaster. Look for FEMA, look for the willcounty.gov websites. Those are your official sites. If you go onto the web at the library or anywhere, public place that has anything, ask somebody to borrow a phone, go onto those sites and get good information, valid information. Don't share personal information. The other thing we see is people will knock on the door and say, hi, I'm an insurance adjuster. Your insurance company sent me here to see the damage. No, they didn't. They would have told you. And they certainly wouldn't send them before you even filed a claim. But we see it all the time after these. People prey on the vulnerable, and unfortunately, you're vulnerable after one of these situations. You've just lost a bunch of personal property. You may have been injured. You may have lost a family member. And you're ripe for the picking for these scammers, unfortunately. Again, we talked about reevaluating your plan. After something small happens, say, was that enough? If the siren goes off and you go downstairs and you realize, wow, I was just making dinner. It would be really nice to have a snack down there, because after I stayed there for about 45 minutes, I was starving. Reevaluate that. Go, let me right now go fix that. Let me go put something that will last for the next time I have to do that. If you have children, make sure you have something to keep them busy, occupied, not focused on what's going on. What if the children just come visit sometimes? Storms can hit when the grandkids come to visit. They don't have to live with you. So make sure that folks know what the plan is. When you go to a new house, if anything changes, your job changes, your benefits change, marriage, divorce, birth, death, any of those things that alter what your emergency plan would be, make sure you stay up with those. Keep them up to date, replace them when you need to. Here's where the book comes in. There's a blue book that is from FEMA, and that is an emergency plan. Keep it up to date. Put as much information as you can. I know you're all going to go home this afternoon, and you're going to immediately sit down, and you're going to fill it all in. All right? Right. You're all going to do that. Don't put it away. Keep it on the table. Keep it on a shelf. Somewhere that you'll walk by it and go, oh, I got a few minutes. Next time you're on hold waiting for somebody, at a doctor's office or something to answer, take it out and take a look at it. See what you think that you might need to get. There are a lot of things that you might not have actually considered all the time. We think again about those immediate emergency needs. We don't always think about the long term. Additional copies. So if you want a copy, there are some extra copies up here for folks. If you want a copy for a family member, friend, neighbor, whoever, help yourself to these. You can also share that website there with any of your family members, and they can go print one up for themselves. That's also on the book. The website is in the book. All right. Did anybody not learn or pick up a tidbit or anything at all? Yep. Oh, all right. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
TRIAD works to improve the quality of life for seniors by providing an opportunity for the exchange of information between public safety, social services, and seniors. There are no membership papers to fill out or fees to pay. Everyone is welcome to attend. Each month, we present a guest speaker on subjects that keep you informed and up to date on the latest scams, frauds, and other criminal activities. We also discuss safety issues, home preparedness, and staying healthy. TRIAD meets the fourth Thursday of every month. Contact the New Lenox Police Department at 815-462-6100 for more information.